Slaying dragons was messy business, particularly for the slayers hired from distant lands, none of whom have completed the task. Fewer still have survived to give an account of their plight. I stood atop the highest tower of Hyra's castle, wearing my ceremonial armor for what was to be so much more than a diplomatic formality. The scent of destruction eddied in the air, a cruel reminder of the devastation wrought over the past 6 nights. The full moon hung heavy in the sky, like the Grim Reaper's lantern over the charred remains of our outer villages. My heart ached for my people, for the lives lost, for the homes destroyed. At barely 19, the weight of my father's crown pressed upon my brow, with the cool night air whipping around me, carrying whispers of the coming dawn. It was the 7th and final night of the Red Harvest. My fingers tightened around the ancient staff in my hands. Handed down to the women in my family for generations, it was passed from my grandmother to me, as my mother wanted nothing to do with magic in keeping with the law of the land. The staff's familiar warmth was a stark contrast to the chill in my bones, and the crystal at its tip pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat. I closed my eyes, remembering my grandmother's words from so long ago.
Magic resides in our hearts,
She'd said, her eyes twinkling with secrets.
It's as much a part of us as the blood that flows through our veins.
My grandmother's secret lessons in the quiet corners of the castle seemed a lifetime ago. After her passing, Mother had forbidden any mention of magic.
It's for your own good.
She'd insisted, fear etched in the lines of her face.
Magic brings nothing but destruction. Plus, let's not forget it is forbidden.
But I wouldn't forget. In the following years, I spent every free moment in the dusty cathedral archives, poring over ancient tomes and crackling scrolls. Each whispered incantation, each flicker of magical energy at my fingertips, was a silent rebellion against the laws that bound our kingdom. The truth about the Red Harvest had been hidden in crumbling scrolls, its pages yellowed by the ravages of time. The first time I read it, the words sent a chill down my spine. It read,
"As the magic wanes, the great beast shall rise for 7 nights and feast of the realm. Every animate shall return until the balance is restored."
That was when I understood. Our kingdom's fear of magic, the very laws meant to protect the city and indeed the realm, was the very thing that drew the dragon to our city year after year. The imbalance our ancestors had created was like a beacon in the night. A distant roar shattered my thoughts. The dragon was coming.
Your Highness,
Rion, my advisor, pleaded from behind me.
please reconsider. The dragon is too powerful. We must evacuate. Let me get you out of the city into safety. We will use the tunnels under the castle.
I turned to face him, noting the worry lines etched around his eyes. I won't abandon my people, Rion. This ends tonight.
But Your Majesty,
No. My voice was firmer than I felt. Did we get all the citizens underground as I instructed?
yes, Your Highness, but all we have to do is get through one more night, then it will be all over.
It'll only be over for a year, then it will start again. I shook my head. Not this time. That strategy has proven fatal for many every year. In fact, thousands of lives have been needlessly lost over the centuries. No. Tonight, things are going to be different. He glanced at the ancient staff in my hand, and his eyes widened in realization.
You can't mean to. Your Majesty, it is forbidden.
Sometimes, Rion, we must embrace what we fear most to restore balance. I managed a small smile. My grandmother understood this. I think deep down, my mother did too.
But the laws,
The laws were made by those who didn't understand, and was born out of fear of the unknown. The actions of one man who had sought to abuse his power brought about suffering for all. Had they took the time to study the craft, our nation's history would have been different. The destruction by the dragon exacting the Red Harvest upon us for centuries could have been avoided. Rion, the suppression of magic is what draws the dragon here, year after year. I tried to explain this to my father privately, but he wouldn't hear it. He refused to understand that the imbalance calls to the beast like a beacon in the night. Rion's brow furrowed.
How can you be sure?
I've studied our history, the ancient texts. The Red Harvest began the very year magic was outlawed in Hyra. It's no coincidence. All those hours upon hours of my free time between lessons that I spent in the cathedral, did you truly believe I was in a constant state of prayer? A thunderous roar split the air, and Rion's face paled. Go, I urged him. Give comfort to my people. But if I fail tonight, remember what I said about the balance and lead our people to the mountain shelters. Begin anew and trust your wisdom to guide them.
Her Majesty is wise beyond her years. Still, I cannot lead. I am not of royal birth.
It doesn't matter. Your knowledge is unparalleled, and I believe you will be a fine leader. Now go. Rion hesitated, then bowed deeply.
As your Majesty commands,
he said, before bestowing a traditional blessing of our people.
May the eternal gods be with you, Your Highness. May they grant you the strength of our ancestors, the wisdom of the ages, and the courage to face the darkness. In this hour of need, may you become the shield that protects our realm and the flame that ignites our hope.
I nodded. Thank you, my faithful advisor, teacher, and friend. As his footsteps faded, I turned back to face the horizon. First came the shadow of the beast above a thin veil of clouds on the horizon. Then, the dragon appeared soaring over the city walls, its obsidian scales glittering like a sea of stars against the night sky, as if it was magic personified. If the ancient scrolls proved correct, the dragon was indeed magic. With each beat of its massive wings, the terror drew closer, eyes burning with hell-like hunger. This ends tonight, I whispered, raising my staff and feeling the surge of long-suppressed power coursing through me. The crystal atop the staff blazed brighter, responding to the magic within. Ancient words of binding and banishment flowed from my lips in a melodic chant, each syllable awakening something primal and powerful in the air around me. I am Jelani of Hyra, I began, shouting into the maelstrom of fire and magic, as the dragon let loose a searing stream of flames. I am the daughter of queens, heir to the forgotten arts, favored by the gods. I call upon the ancient balance to right what has been wronged. A shimmering barrier appeared above the castle, and sweat beaded on my brow as I poured every ounce of focus and strength into holding the shield. I repeated the chant 3 times, as instructed by the ancient texts, bringing my staff down to bang on the floor 3 times. Then, a blinding pillar of light erupted from the crystal, shooting into the sky and engulfing the very air. The great beast roared in fury as ethereal chains materialized, wrapping around its massive form. The beast plummeted from the sky, crashing into the courtyard below. I rushed down the tower steps, my heart pounding in my ears. As I approached, I was amazed to find that the dragon was no bigger than a dove. Along with its magic, it seemed that the binding and banishing spell had physically shrunk the dragon as well. It flapped its wings feebly in the courtyard, coughing up smoke that curled from its nostrils. I felt the magic in the air settling like dust after a storm. The balance is restored, I whispered. Kneeling beside the creature, it looked up at me with eyes no longer filled with rage, but with something akin to understanding. I stood, cradling the miniature creature in my gauntleted hands. Before I could take another step, Rion appeared at my side, his eyes wide with wonder.
Your Highness, what you did, it was...
Magic? I finished for him. The very thing our kingdom has feared for generations is what saved us. Dawn broke over the horizon, and for the first time in generations, instead of destruction and grief, the 7th dawn brought feelings of victory and hope. As Hyra rebuilt and flourished, the scars of the Red Harvest faded, replaced by vibrant cities and thriving wildlands where magic and the mundane existed in perfect balance. Standing on the tower where I'd faced the mountain of a dragon a year ago, I smiled as Ember, the same dragon, still the size of a dove, and my constant companion, had become our people's symbol of hope. The weight of the crown felt lighter, balanced by the warmth of the staff in my hand, Ember sitting on my shoulder, and the magic flowing freely through our land.